Welcome to Only One You Need Radio. We're not the only one you need. You are. We just show you how to get out of your own way. With your host, speaker, author, business coach, and consultant, David Dubé.
Welcome to Only One You Need Radio. It's your host, David Dubé. So excited to have you here with me today. In this episode, we are continuing our trend when it comes to communication hurdles and how to resolve them. Specifically, in this episode, we're going to be talking about interruptions. Interruptions are something that happen or occur very often within communication, and there's a significant reason for them. I'm going to go deeper into the reasoning why this happens as well. I'm also going to be bridging the gap between interruptions and distractions, as they're very similar to each other. I'm going to be talking about why we do this on a subconscious level, the reasoning for it. And so if you haven't already, go back and listen to pretty much every episode within the 50s. Most of them are related to the specific idea here of having much more effective communication. And it really starts with episode 50 with finding your learning style. And you might not believe that that's something that's important when it comes to communication, but it is absolutely invaluable when it comes to communication. So here we are at episode number 60, and we're talking about, like I said, interruptions when it comes to communication. So bridging that gap between interruptions and distractions is also important. So why do we do this? Why do we interrupt our conversations? And we do that on a subconscious level. We're doing that to state or to share with someone that their opinion is not as important as either what I have going on here on my phone, because this is by far the number one tool used in distraction over any other tool that we have. So what we're saying is your opinion is less valid or not as important as this. Now, whether that's you doing it or someone else interrupting, or an interruption might not just be the cell phone. It could be something like cutting into conversation, saying, oh yeah, and then blurting out whatever it is that came into our mind. And we often do that. I'm guilty of this, and I'm certain you're guilty of it as well, where we interrupt someone in middle of their conversation or middle of them talking or sharing something with us to tell them a thought or share with them an idea or a thought that came into our head during the time of them talking. Because we do this all the time. We let our thoughts overtake the conversation at hand. And in doing so, we actually are destroying or breaking down the communication that's in process of happening, because we're not giving our full time and attention to the person that is there with us, communicating to us. And this can very easily destroy what's going on. Also, the other part of it too, it's not respectful of the other person. Once again, the subconscious reasoning for this is your opinion isn't as important as what I have to say here, or is what's going on here. And think about that. Think about what you're actually telling someone on a subconscious level. Now, oftentimes we do this at a level that obviously we're not thinking of. We don't think about this stuff. We don't think, most of the time, at least, we don't think about we just don't care about them. We don't care about what they have to say. Sometimes we think that way. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we don't. And I'd venture to say that majority of the time, our thought pattern is not about them, and it's about us. Because why? We are inherently selfish beings. We're very selfish people. If you didn't already realize that, it's about time you do. Inherently, you and I are very selfish people. And there's nothing wrong with being selfish. There really is not. But the problem here happens to be destroying the communication that's going on. Now, if you don't like the person, or if you're not happy with the relationship, that you have with that person. Maybe it's your boss that you don't like. Maybe it's your significant other that you're kind of over being in the relationship with. And so you'll find whatever interruption you can or distraction you can to avoid the true conversation, to avoid the truth of what's going on within you. We do this so often without realizing that that's often what we're doing because we're so used to the life that we have. We're used to things being broken, and we band-aid our entire lives so we can continue on the path of a broken life or broken relationship, what have you. But that's a part of our lives, so it's a broken life nonetheless. And so it's important to realize why you're doing what you're doing. So think about the last time you were having communication with anyone. Maybe it was this past weekend, or it was last week, or even today, and you picked up your phone or you interrupted them mid-conversation to talk about something else, to bring up a totally different topic, which is something we're all guilty of doing. Why are you doing that? And really think about it. Why did you just do what you just did? And really, truly think about it. And come to terms with the reasoning for why you did what you just did, or why you're doing what you've just done. And have a dialogue with yourself about why you are creating interruptions or why you're being distracted. Do that for yourself. And when you do that for yourself, you begin to consciously, instead of subconsciously now, understand your reasoning for things in your life within that relationship. And when you can do that, you can actually fess up to it to yourself. Be like, okay, I see what I'm doing. I get what I'm doing. I understand why I'm doing it. And when you do that, now you can actually open up the communication. Now, if it's someone else doing this to you, someone else interrupting the conversation, it's okay then to interrupt them back. It's okay to stand in your power and say, hey, why? There's no need for you to do this. Let me finish my point and then we can go back to yours, right? And try then to understand why it is that they're interrupting you. Are they interrupting you because they're trying to invalidate your point, trying to strengthen your point? Okay. Why are they interrupting you? And when you can figure that out, when you can realize why they're doing that, then it will then help you to resolve that issue, right? Because if someone interrupts me because they're validating my point and I don't even need to finish my breath of sentence because they're completing it, but in a better way, like they're verbalizing what I was saying better, then obviously that's a compliment to what I'm saying. But if they're doing it in a way because a different thought came into their head and they just want to get it out, then it's okay to interrupt them back and say, okay, we can take note of that, but I'm the one who's talking here. I'm the one sharing my point here. And then after you finish your point, then you can go back to their point and validate them within that. Or if it's something where they're trying to play chess with you, as it were, and trying to up you, then you can talk about the reasoning for what they're doing and not the subject that they brought up. Because once you talk about the reasoning for it, you're actually solving the communication loop. You're closing that loop. If you don't do that, you're leaving the loop open by entertaining the subject that they brought up, the point they brought up. The purpose here is to close these communication loops that are open. Because when you close those loops, you resolve the communication issues. You know, if it's the point that they don't like you and they don't care what you have to say, good, bad, or indifferent. So I feel I gave you some good tools on how to deal with interruptions in communication and how to make this more of a non-issue. And that's really the point here, to make this a non-issue. Later on, there's a lot more to both distracted and interrupted communication that I would like to talk about how this works in a mass arena and the power that it absolutely has over people, and the authority that doing it can transform people's lives very drastically and very quickly. And there's numerous examples when it comes to doing this all over the place. And it's mind-blowing to me how massive this is a thing. So when you realize this is something that's constantly going on a mass scale, and you see it, you can see through the BS. And when you see through the BS, you can actually find the real reasoning for the distractions and the interruptions. And when you do that, you'll find clarity in our society. And I'm telling you, that's one of the most powerful things. And at some point in time, I hope to share that information with you. This isn't necessarily the episode to do that. So if you want more information on that, if this is something you're actually excited about hearing, let me know. If you're following on iTunes, listening to this on iTunes, rate this, give a review. I want to know what you think of this show. Please review it. Also, if you're listening to this on YouTube, subscribe, get notified, because, hey, I'm doing this not for me. I'm doing this for you. Obviously, in doing this, I also do it for myself and remember the reasons for, in this case, interruptions in communication. But I do this for you. So I appreciate you. Thanks for being here. It's Dave Dubé with Only When You Need Radio. It's time that you be the person you're meant to be, believe in all that you're capable of, and become more than you thought imaginable. I look forward to catching you on the next episode. Take care.